Unexpected recruitment. Mira Chen stared at her dwindling bank account balance, the glowing numbers on her phone screen a harsh reminder of her predicament. Another month, another struggle to make rent. She sighed, running a hand through her short, blue-dyed hair, and glanced around her tiny studio apartment. Canvases lined the walls, splashed with vibrant colors and abstract forms, beautiful but utterly unsellable in a world that seemed to have lost its appreciation for art. At 28, Mira had long since abandoned her dreams of becoming a famous painter. Now she'd settle for just making ends meet. She picked up her tablet, ready to browse through another depressing list of job postings when a notification pinged. The subject line made her pause. Unique opportunity for creative minds. Intergalactic Cultural Exchange Program. Mira snorted. Yeah, right, she muttered, her finger hovering over the delete button. But curiosity got the better of her, and she opened the email. As her eyes scanned the contents, her skepticism gradually gave way to intrigue. The message described a program seeking Earth artists to participate in a cultural exchange with an advanced alien civilization. It promised full financial support, the chance to experience an entirely new world, and the opportunity to create art that would bridge the gap between species. This has to be some kind of elaborate scam, Mira said to herself, even as she felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. She'd always been drawn to science fiction, spending countless hours imagining what life might be like among the stars. And now, here was an opportunity that seemed plucked straight from her wildest dreams. Against her better judgment, Mira found herself filling out the application. She uploaded images of her best works, answered questions about her artistic philosophy, and even recorded a short video introducing herself. As she hovered over the submit button, a voice in her head screamed that this was madness. But what did she have to lose? She hit submit and immediately felt foolish. Great job, Mira, she muttered. You've probably just handed over all your personal information to some cybercriminals. She closed her tablet and flopped onto her bed, trying to push the whole thing out of her mind. 3 days later, Mira was jolted awake by an insistent knocking at her door. Bleary-eyed and confused, she stumbled to answer it, expecting an angry landlord or perhaps a neighbor complaining about the smell of paint. Instead, she found herself face to face with two individuals who were very clearly not human. The beings stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies sleek and androgynous. Their skin shimmered with an iridescent quality, shifting colors like oil on water. Large, almond-shaped eyes regarded Mira with an unsettling intelligence. One of them spoke, its voice a melodious trill that somehow translated perfectly in Mira's mind. Mira Chen, you have been selected for the Intergalactic Cultural Exchange Program. We are here to escort you to the preparation facility. Mira gaped, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing and hearing. What? This is real? You're real. The second alien tilted its head, an almost amused expression crossing its features. Very real, Mira Chen. Your application showed great promise. You possess a unique perspective that our people are eager to explore. As the initial shock began to wear off, 1,000 questions flooded Mira's mind. But I can't just leave. I have responsibilities here. My apartment, my job. She trailed off, realizing how pitiful her protests sounded in the face of such an extraordinary opportunity. The first alien made a gesture that Mira interpreted as reassuring. All your earthly affairs will be taken care of. We have the resources to ensure a seamless transition. You need only bring yourself and your artistic vision. Mira's head spun. This was happening too fast. She needed time to think, to process. But as she looked back at her cramped apartment, at the stack of unpaid bills on her desk, at the paintings that no one wanted to buy, she felt a surge of reckless courage. How long would I be gone? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. The program is designed to last 1 Earth year, the second alien replied. However, extensions can be arranged if both parties find the exchange mutually beneficial. A year to explore a new world, to create art without worrying about bills or rent. A year to possibly change the course of her entire life. Mira took a deep breath, feeling as though she stood on the edge of a vast precipice. "Okay," she said, surprising herself with the firmness of her own voice. "I'll do it. When do we leave?" The aliens exchanged a look that Mira couldn't quite interpret. Immediately, the first one said, "Time is of the essence. Gather what personal items you wish to bring. We will handle the rest." In a daze, Mira packed a small bag with clothes, sketchbooks, and her most treasured art supplies. As she zipped it closed, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked both terrified and exhilarated. "What the hell are you doing, Mira?" she whispered to her reflection, but she already knew the answer. She was taking a leap into the unknown, chasing a dream she'd thought long dead. As she stepped out of her apartment, possibly for the last time, Mira felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Whatever lay ahead, it had to be better than the life she was leaving behind. The aliens led her to a vehicle unlike anything Mira had ever seen, a sleek, silver craft that hummed with energy. As she climbed aboard, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation, Mira couldn't shake the feeling that she was forgetting something important, but it was too late for second thoughts now. The craft's door sealed shut with a soft hiss, and Mira felt a gentle vibration beneath her feet. Through the craft's transparent walls, she watched her familiar world fall away, growing smaller and smaller until the entire Earth was nothing more than a blue marble suspended in the vastness of space. Mira pressed her hand against the cool surface of the craft's wall, her artist's eye drinking in the cosmic vista before her. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of true inspiration ignite within her. "So," she said, turning to her alien escorts with a nervous smile, "tell me more about this cultural exchange program." The aliens exchanged another of those unreadable looks. "Of course, Mira Chen," the first one said. "But first, there is something you should know about your unique role in this exchange." Mira's smile faltered. "What do you mean, unique role?" As the alien began to explain, Mira realized that her adventure was about to become far more complex and dangerous than she could have ever imagined. Arrival on Zephyria. The journey through space lasted both an eternity and no time at all. Mira drifted in and out of a dreamlike state, a mind struggling to process the vastness of the universe rushing past her. Her alien escorts, who had introduced themselves as Zar and Ven, kept her comfortable but offered little in the way of conversation or explanation. As the craft began to slow, Mira pressed her face against the transparent wall, eager for her first glimpse of an alien world. A planet swam into view, a swirling orb of deep purples and shimmering silvers. Ethereal rings encircled it, casting prismatic reflections across its surface. "Welcome to Zephyria," Zar announced, a note of pride in their melodious voice. The craft descended through wisps of lavender clouds, and Mira gasped as a sprawling cityscape came into view. Towering spires of crystal and metal reached toward the sky, their surfaces alive with pulsing light. Vehicles that looked like liquid mercury darted between the buildings, following invisible pathways. They touched down on a landing platform jutting out from the tallest structure Mira had ever seen. As the craft's door slid open, she took her first breath of alien air. It was sweet and crisp, with an undercurrent of something she couldn't quite place, like ozone and honey mixed together. "This way, Mira Chen," Ven said, gesturing toward an ornate archway. "The Empress awaits." Mira blinked in surprise. "The Empress? I thought I was here for a cultural exchange program." Zar and Ven exchanged another of those meaningful looks that Mira was beginning to find unsettling. "All will be explained," Zar said smoothly. "Please follow us." As they walked through corridors of shimmering, ever-changing colors, Mira's artist's eye struggled to take in every detail. The architecture seemed to defy the laws of physics, with floating staircases and rooms that appeared to fold in on themselves. She longed to stop and sketch, to capture even a fraction of the beauty surrounding her. They entered a vast chamber, its domed ceiling a perfect replica of the starry sky outside. At its center stood a figure that took Mira's breath away. The Empress of Zephyria was a being of living light, her form constantly shifting and flowing like liquid starlight. When she spoke, her voice resonated through Mira's very bones. "Welcome, Mira Chen of Earth. We have long awaited your arrival." Mira dropped into an awkward curtsy, unsure of the proper protocol. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I'm honored to be here, but I'm a little confused. I thought I was participating in a cultural exchange program." The Empress's form rippled, and Mira got the distinct impression she was amused. "In a manner of speaking, you are. But your role here is far more crucial than you realize. You see, Mira, you have been chosen as my resonance partner. You're what?" The Empress glided closer, and Mira felt a strange tingling sensation across her skin. "Our species, the Zephyrians, draw our power and longevity from a cosmic energy we call the flux. For millennia, we have harnessed this energy through a symbiotic bond with other sentient species. You, Mira, possess a unique resonance with the flux that makes you an ideal partner for me." Mira's head swam. This was not at all what she had signed up for. "I don't understand. What exactly does being a resonance partner entail?" "It is a profound connection," the Empress explained. "Through you, I will be able to channel the flux with unprecedented power, ensuring the continued prosperity of my people. In return, you'll experience wonders beyond your wildest imagination, and your art will flourish in ways you never thought possible." It sounded too good to be true, and Mira's skepticism flared. "And what's the catch?" "There's always a catch." The Empress's form dimmed slightly. "The process is not without risk. The bonding ceremony can be intense, and once bonded, our fates will be intertwined. My enemies will become your enemies, but I assure you, the rewards far outweigh the dangers." Mira's mind reeled. This was so far beyond anything she had anticipated. Part of her wanted to demand to be sent back to Earth immediately, but another part, the part that had always longed for adventure and meaning, was intrigued. "Do I have a choice?" she asked quietly. The Empress's voice softened. "There is always a choice, Mira Chen. If you wish to return to Earth, we will honor that decision. But I urge you to consider carefully. You have a rare gift, one that could change the course of 2 civilizations." Mira closed her eyes, trying to center herself. When she opened them, she met the Empress's gaze with newfound determination. "I need time to think, and I have questions, a lot of questions." "Of course," the Empress said, her form brightening. "Za and Ven will show you to your quarters. Take all the time you need to acclimate and consider your decision. When you are ready, we will speak again." As Mira followed her escorts out of the chamber, her mind buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She had come seeking inspiration for her art, but instead, she found herself at the center of an interstellar power play. Her quarters were a marvel of alien luxury, with a bed that seemed to float on air and walls that could become transparent at her command, offering breathtaking views of the Zephyrian capital. But Mira hardly noticed her surroundings. She paced back and forth, trying to make sense of everything she had learned. Resonance partner, cosmic energy, intertwined fates. It all sounded like something out of a science fiction novel, and yet, here she was, standing on an alien world, being offered the chance to play a pivotal role in the fate of an entire civilization. Mira walked to the window, pressing her hand against its cool surface. The alien city glittered before her, full of mystery and promise. She thought of her life on Earth, the struggling artist, barely making ends meet, her dreams slowly dying. And then she thought of the Empress, a being of pure energy, offering her a chance at something truly extraordinary. "What would you do?" she whispered to her reflection. The mirror in the window stared back, her eyes wide with the possibilities that lay before her. As the alien suns began to set, painting the sky in hues of lavender and gold, Mira made her decision. She would stay. She would become the Empress's resonance partner. It was terrifying, Yes, but it was also the greatest adventure she could ever imagine. She turned from the window, a smile playing on her lips. "All right, Your Majesty," she said to the empty room. "Let's see what this flux can do." Little did Mira know that her decision would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the Zephyrian Empire and test the limits of her own humanity in ways she could never have foreseen. The bonding ceremony. The days leading up to the bonding ceremony were a whirlwind of preparation and anticipation. Mira spent hours in deep conversation with the Empress, learning about Zephyrian culture, history, and the nature of the flux. She sketched constantly, filling page after page with alien landscapes and fantastical beings, her art evolving in ways she had never imagined possible. But as the day of the ceremony approached, Mira's excitement gave way to a gnawing anxiety. Despite the Empress's assurances, the risks involved in the bonding process weighed heavily on her mind. On the morning of the ceremony, Mira stood before a mirror in her quarters, hardly recognizing the woman who stared back at her. She was draped in a flowing robe of shifting colors, reminiscent of the Empress's own form. Her once blue hair now shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence, a side effect of her prolonged exposure to the flux. A soft chime announced the arrival of Tsar and Ven. "It is time, Mira Chen," Tsar said, their voice filled with a reverence Mira hadn't heard before. As they led her through the twisting corridors of the palace, Mira's heart pounded in her chest. They emerged onto a vast platform suspended high above the Zephyrian capital. The twin suns hung low on the horizon, bathing everything in a surreal golden light. The Empress awaited them, her form pulsing with barely contained energy. Around her stood a circle of Zephyrian dignitaries, their faces a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Mira realized with a start that they were as unsure about this process as she was. "Mira Chen of Earth," the Empress's voice rang out, "are you prepared to join your essence with mine, to become a conduit for the flux and a partner in the governance of our people?" Mira took a deep breath, steeling herself. "I am," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. The Empress extended a tendril of light towards Mira. "Then, let us begin." As Mira stepped forward and grasped the tendril, the world around her exploded into chaos. Colors she had never seen before flooded her vision. Sounds beyond human comprehension filled her ears. She felt as if her very atoms were being torn apart and reassembled. Through it all, Mira clung to her sense of self, refusing to be overwhelmed by the cosmic forces surging through her. She thought of her art, of the beauty she had seen on Earth and Zephyria, anchoring herself in the creative spirit that had always defined her. Gradually, the maelstrom of sensation began to coalesce into something coherent. Mira found herself floating in a vast, starry void, face to face with the Empress. But now she could see the being behind the light, ancient, powerful, and profoundly alien. "Welcome, Mira," the Empress's thoughts resonated in her mind. "You have done well. Many would have lost themselves in the flux." Mira tried to speak, but found she had no voice in this place. Instead, her thoughts flowed naturally. "What is this place? What's happening to me?" "We are in the heart of the flux," the Empress explained. "Here, we will forge the bond that will link us for as long as you live. Are you ready to see the truth of the universe, Mira Chen?" Before Mira could respond, the void around them erupted with images and sensations. She saw the birth of stars, the death of galaxies, the intricate web of energy that connected all living things. She experienced the entire history of the Zephyrian people in a single breathtaking moment. And then she saw Earth, her home, so small and fragile in the vastness of space, yet brimming with a vitality that took her breath away. She saw humanity's potential, the incredible future that awaited them if they could overcome their limitations. "Your people are young," the Empress's thoughts caressed her mind, "but they have a fire in them that our kind has long forgotten. This is why you were chosen, Mira. You embody the best of humanity, creativity, adaptability, and an indomitable spirit." The realization hit Mira like a physical force. She wasn't just here to help the Zephyrians. She was here to forge a connection between two civilizations, to help guide humanity towards a future among the stars. As this understanding settled into her being, Mira felt a fundamental shift within herself. The flux no longer felt alien. It was a part of her, as natural as breathing. She could feel the Empress's presence in her mind, a constant, reassuring hum. Slowly, the starry void faded, and Mira found herself back on the platform in Zephyria. But everything looked different now. She could see the currents of the flux flowing around her, connecting every living thing in a beautiful, intricate dance. The Empress stood before her, no longer a being of pure light, but a majestic, vaguely humanoid creature with eyes that held the wisdom of eons. "It is done," she announced to the assembled dignitaries. "Mira Chen is now my resonance partner, a bridge between our worlds." A murmur ran through the crowd. Some looked awestruck, others concerned. Mira realized that this partnership was unprecedented, and not everyone was comfortable with the idea of a human holding such a position of power. As the ceremony concluded and the crowd began to disperse, the Empress turned to Mira. "How do you feel?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. Mira took a moment to assess herself. Her body tingled with residual energy, and her mind felt expanded, capable of processing information at an incredible speed. But more than that, she felt a sense of purpose that had been missing from her life for so long. "I feel alive," Mira said, a smile spreading across her face. "Like I finally found where I'm supposed to be." The Empress nodded, pleased. "The road ahead will not be easy. There are those who will resist the changes our partnership will bring. But together, we can usher in a new era of prosperity and understanding for both our peoples." As if on cue, a commotion erupted at the edge of the platform. A group of Zephyrians pushed their way forward, their faces contorted with anger. "This is an abomination," one of them shouted. "Humans are not worthy of the flux. The Empress has been corrupted." Guards moved to intercept the protesters, but not before Mira caught a glimpse of pure hatred in their eyes. She shivered, realizing that her decision to stay on Zephyria had made her the center of a political storm she didn't fully understand. The Empress placed a comforting hand on Mira's shoulder. "Do not fear," she said softly. "We knew there would be opposition, but what we have set in motion today cannot be stopped. You have awakened something in our people, Mira, a hunger for change that has been dormant for too long." Mira nodded, trying to draw strength from the Empress's words. As they retreated into the safety of the palace, she couldn't shake the feeling that the bonding ceremony was just the beginning of a much larger, more dangerous adventure. That night, as Mira lay in her quarters, her mind buzzing with the events of the day, she felt a subtle shift in the flux around her. A warning, perhaps, of troubles to come. But alongside the apprehension, she felt a surge of determination. She was no longer just Mira Chen, struggling artist from Earth. She was a resonance partner, a bridge between worlds, and a catalyst for change in a vast, cosmic dance. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them with the fire of humanity burning bright within her. As she drifted off to sleep, her dreams were filled with swirling colors and endless possibilities. The adventure had only just begun. Rising tensions. In the weeks following the bonding ceremony, Mira found herself thrust into the complex world of Zephyrian politics. Her days were filled with council meetings, diplomatic functions, and intense training sessions where she learned to harness the power of the flux. Nights were spent in deep communion with the Empress, their minds merging in the cosmic currents, sharing knowledge and experiences across the vastness of space and time. As Mira's powers grew, so did her understanding of the precarious position she now occupied. The Zephyrian Empire, for all its technological marvels and spiritual advancement, was a society deeply divided. Conservatives, led by a charismatic counselor named Vex, saw her presence as a threat to their way of life. Progressives, inspired by the Empress's bold move, clamored for greater connections with other species, particularly humans. One morning, as Mira sat in on a particularly heated council session, she felt a disturbance in the flux. She turned to see Vex rise from his seat, his form crackling with barely contained energy. "This has gone on long enough," Vex declared, his voice resonating through the chamber. "The human's influence grows stronger by the day. Our sacred traditions are being eroded. I move for an immediate severing of the resonance bond and the human's return to her primitive world." A murmur ran through the assembled counselors. Mira felt a surge of indignation, both from herself and from the Empress beside her. Before the Empress could respond, Mira found herself on her feet, drawing on the flux to project her voice. "With all due respect, Councillor Vex," Mira said, her words carrying the weight of cosmic energy, "I am not here to erode your traditions. I'm here to help your people grow, to forge a connection between our worlds that could benefit both species." Vex's eyes narrowed. "And what could we possibly gain from your kind? You, who have barely mastered space travel, who still war amongst yourselves over trivial resources." Mira took a deep breath, centering herself in the flux. As she did, images flashed through her mind: human history, human potential, the indomitable spirit that had driven her species from caves to the stars. "We have something you've lost, Counselor," Mira said softly. "Adaptability. Creativity. The drive to constantly improve and reinvent ourselves. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we struggle. But in that struggle, we find strength." With a gesture, Mira tapped into the flux, projecting her thoughts for all to see. The council chamber filled with holographic images, great works of human art, scientific breakthroughs, acts of incredible courage and compassion. "This is humanity," Mira declared. "Flawed, yes, but ever striving. We have much to learn from you, but you also have much to learn from us. Together, we could achieve wonders beyond imagination." As the images faded, a hush fell over the chamber. Mira could feel the shift in the flux, the way her words had resonated with many of the counselors. But Vex remained unmoved, his face a mask of cold disdain. "Pretty pictures and prettier words," he sneered, "but they change nothing. The human is a threat to our very way of life, and I will not rest until she is removed." With that, Vex stormed out of the chamber, a handful of his supporters trailing behind him. As the remaining counselors broke into furious debate, the Empress placed a gentle hand on Mira's arm. "You did well," the Empress's thoughts flowed into Mira's mind. "But I fear Vex will not give up so easily. We must be prepared for what comes next." Mira nodded, a chill running down her spine, despite the warmth of the Empress's touch. She had made an enemy today, one who would stop at nothing to see her gone. In the days that followed, tensions continued to rise. Mira found herself the subject of intense scrutiny wherever she went. Whispers followed her through the palace corridors. Some Zephyrians looked at her with awe and hope, others with suspicion and fear. Mira threw herself into her work, determined to prove her worth. She collaborated with Zephyrian scientists, using her human perspective to help them approach problems in new ways. She worked with artists, blending human and Zephyrian techniques to create works of staggering beauty. And always, she continued to hone her control of the flux, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. But for every breakthrough, for every moment of connection and understanding, there seemed to be a new obstacle. Vex and his followers worked tirelessly to undermine Mira's efforts, spreading rumors and stoking fears among the population. One evening, as Mira was returning to her quarters after a long day of meetings, she felt a sudden surge of danger through the flux. She barely had time to throw up a defensive shield before a bolt of energy crackled past her head, leaving a scorched mark on the wall behind her. Mira spun around to see a hooded figure at the end of the corridor, hands still glowing with residual flux energy. As palace guards rushed to her aid, the assailant fled, vanishing in a flash of light. Shaken but unhurt, Mira allowed herself to be escorted to the Empress's private chambers. As soon as she entered, the Empress enveloped her in a comforting embrace of light and energy. "Are you all right?" the Empress asked, her voice tight with concern. Mira nodded, still trembling slightly. I'm fine. But this is escalating faster than we anticipated, isn't it? The Empress's form dimmed slightly, a sign of her distress. I'm afraid so. Vex's rhetoric has been growing more violent. He's painting you, us, as a threat to the very fabric of Zephyrian society. I fear this attack is only the beginning. Mira sank into a nearby chair, suddenly feeling the weight of everything that had happened since she'd left Earth. Maybe Vex is right. Maybe I don't belong here. Perhaps it would be better if I just went home. No, the Empress's voice was firm, brooking no argument. You belong here, Mira Chen. What we are doing, the connection we are forging between our peoples, it is too important. We cannot let fear and ignorance win. Mira looked up, meeting the Empress's gaze. In those ancient eyes, she saw not just determination, but a deep, abiding affection. It filled her with warmth, chasing away her doubts. You're right, Mira said, straightening her shoulders. I won't give up. Whatever Vex and his followers throw at us, we'll face it together. The Empress nodded, her form brightening once more. Together, she agreed. Now, let us plan our next move. Vex has shown his hand. It's time we showed ours. As they bent their heads together, immersing themselves in the flux to communicate on a deeper level, Mira felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yes, there were dangers ahead. Yes, the path would be difficult. But she was no longer just fighting for herself, or even for the Zephyrians. She was fighting for the future of both their species, for a universe where humanity and Zephyrians could stand side by side as equals. Little did Mira know that Vex's plans ran deeper than she could have imagined. As she and the Empress strategized late into the night, dark forces were gathering in the shadows of the Zephyrian capital. The true test of Mira's resolve, and of the bond between human and Zephyrian, was yet to come. Betrayal and escape. The Zephyrian capital glittered in the light of the triple moons, its spires reaching towards the star-studded sky. But beneath the beautiful facade, a storm was brewing. Mira could feel it in the flux, a tension that thrummed through the very air around her. For weeks, she and the Empress had been working tirelessly to counter Vex propaganda, to show the Zephyrian people the benefits of their partnership. They had made progress, winning over key allies in the council and garnering support from the general population. But still, the undercurrent of discontent remained, a constant threat lurking just below the surface. On this night, Mira stood on the balcony of her quarters, her eyes closed as she reached out with her senses, feeling the ebb and flow of the flux around her. Something felt off. There was a disturbance in the energy, subtle but growing. A soft chime announced a visitor. Mira turned to see Zar, one of her original escorts and now a trusted friend, enter the room. Zar, Mira greeted them with a smile. What brings you here so late? Zar's form rippled with what Mira had come to recognize as anxiety. Mira, I bring urgent news. There's been a development in the council. Vex has called for an emergency session, and he claims to have evidence that you've been manipulating the Empress, using your human abilities to control her mind. Mira's blood ran cold. That's absurd. The Empress and I are partners. I would never. I know, Zar interrupted, their voice low and urgent. But Vex has presented some very convincing fabricated evidence. He's calling for your immediate arrest and trial. Before Mira could respond, an explosion rocked the palace. The flux around them surged with chaotic energy, and Mira stumbled, catching herself on the balcony railing. What was that? She gasped. Zar's form pulsed with alarm. It's begun. Vex must have decided to take matters into his own hands. We need to get you to safety, now. As if on cue, the door to Mira's quarters burst open. A squad of Zephyrian guards poured in, their forms crackling with aggressive energy. At their head stood Vex, his eyes gleaming with triumph. Mira Chen, he intoned, his voice dripping with false solemnity, you are under arrest for crimes against the Zephyrian Empire. Come quietly, and you will be granted a fair trial. Mira's mind raced. She could feel the Empress's alarm through their bond, knew that her partner was likely facing a similar situation elsewhere in the palace. This was no legal arrest, it was a coup. In that moment, Mira made a decision. Drawing on every ounce of her training, she reached deep into the flux. Time seemed to slow around her as she gathered her power. "I don't think so, Vex," she said, her voice resonating with cosmic energy. With a gesture, Mira released a shockwave of flux energy. The guards were thrown back, caught off guard by the sheer power of her attack. Vex alone stood his ground, his own connection to the flux allowing him to resist. "Zar, run," Mira shouted, already moving towards the balcony. "You can't escape, human," Vex snarled, launching a bolt of energy at her. Mira deflected it with a flick of her wrist, her newfound powers surprising even her. She vaulted over the balcony railing, using the flux to slow her descent to the gardens below. As she ran through the twisting pathways of the palace grounds, alarms blared all around her. The night air was filled with shouts and the crackle of energy weapons. Through her bond with the Empress, Mira could sense chaos erupting throughout the capital. "Mira!" The Empress's voice rang in her mind. "Meet me at the ancient temple. Hurry." Guided by the Empress's thoughts, Mira navigated the increasingly hostile city. She ducked through alleyways and slipped through shadows, using her connection to the flux to mask her presence from searching patrols. As she neared the outskirts of the capital, a familiar figure materialized beside her. It was Ven, her other original escort. "This way," Ven whispered, gesturing towards a hidden passage. "There are those of us who still believe in what you and the Empress are trying to achieve. We'll do what we can to help." Together, they made their way to the ancient temple, a structure that predated even the Zephyrian Empire. As they approached, Mira saw the Empress waiting for them, her form dimmed to avoid detection. "My love," the Empress said as Mira reached her, enveloping her in a warm embrace of light and energy. "I'm so glad you're safe." "What's happening?" Mira asked, still breathless from her flight. How could Vex have turned so many against us so quickly? The Empress's form rippled with sorrow. "I'm afraid the rot runs deeper than we realized. Vex has been planning this for a long time, gathering allies, planting seeds of doubt. Many of those we thought were friends have turned against us." Ven stepped forward, their form tense with urgency. "We don't have much time. Vex's forces will find us soon. What's the plan?" The Empress turned to face the ancient temple. "There is a secret here, one that has been guarded by my line for generations. It may be our only hope." She placed her hand on a seemingly ordinary section of the temple wall. The stone rippled like water, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, bathed in soft, pulsing light, was a sleek, oval-shaped vessel. A ship, Mira breathed, her artist's eye taking in its elegant lines. "Not just any ship," the Empress explained. "This vessel is attuned to the flux itself. It can take us beyond Vex's reach, to the farthest reaches of the galaxy if need be." Ven's form flickered with alarm. "You're leaving? But what about the Empire? What about our people?" The Empress turned to Ven, her voice filled with regret. "Sometimes, to say something, you must first step away from it. Vex may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. Mira and I will return, and when we do, we'll bring hope not just for Zephyria, but for all sentient species." A distant explosion rocked the ground beneath their feet. Vex's forces were getting closer. "Go," Ven said, straightening to attention. "We'll do what we can to protect the truth, to keep hope alive among those who still believe." Mira felt tears welling in her eyes as she grasped Ven's hand. "Thank you for everything." As Mira and the Empress boarded the ship, its systems hummed to life, responding to their combined flux energy. Through the vessel's translucent hull, Mira could see Zephyrian forces converging on the temple. "Are you ready?" the Empress asked, her form pulsing with a mixture of determination and sadness. Mira took a deep breath, thinking of all that had happened since she'd left Earth. The wonders she'd seen, the powers she'd discovered, the love she'd found. And now, the fight that lay ahead. "Ready," she said, intertwining her energy with the Empress's. As Vex and his forces breached the temple grounds, the ancient ship rose silently into the air. In a flash of light that outshone the moons themselves, Mira and the Empress vanished into the cosmic currents of the flux, leaving behind a world in turmoil and a destiny yet unfulfilled. Their journey was just beginning, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Reclaiming the throne, the vastness of space stretched out before them, an endless canvas of stars and cosmic energy. For what felt like both an eternity and no time at all, Mira and the Empress traveled through the flux, their ship moving between the very fabric of space-time itself. During their journey, Mira's connection to the flux grew stronger than ever. The Empress taught her secrets of the universe that few beings have ever known, and together they planned, strategized, and prepared for their inevitable return to Zephyria. But they didn't just plan, they searched. Using the ship's unique abilities, they sought out other civilizations, other beings who could potentially aid in their cause. Mira's human perspective proved invaluable, allowing her to connect with species in ways the Empress never could have on her own. As they traveled, Mira also honed her artistic skills, creating works that blended her human creativity with the cosmic energies of the flux. Her art became a bridge, a universal language that spoke to the beings they encountered, conveying the importance of unity and mutual understanding in the face of division and fear. Finally, after what their instruments told them was nearly 2 Earth years, they received a signal, a coded message hidden in the flux currents, detectable only by those who knew to look for it. "It's from Ven," the Empress said, her form pulsing with excitement. "The resistance on Zephyria has grown strong enough. It's time for us to return." Mira felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. "Do you think we're ready?" The Empress enveloped Mira in a warm embrace of light and energy. "Thanks to you, my love, I believe we are more than ready. You've shown me, shown us all, what it truly means to adapt, to grow, to never give up in the face of adversity. Your human spirit combined with our Zephyrian wisdom, it's a force that not even Vex can stand against." With a shared nod of determination, they set course for Zephyria. As their ship dropped out of the flux near Zephyria, Mira gasped. The once beautiful planet was shrouded in a dark, swirling energy, Vex's corrupted version of the flux. "He's tapped into the planet's core," the Empress said, her voice tight with concern. "He's using it to amplify his power, but at a terrible cost. If we don't stop him soon, he'll drain Zephyria dry." They landed their ship in a hidden location provided by Ven's coordinates. As they emerged, they were greeted by a group of resistance fighters, a mix of Zephyrians and, to Mira's surprise, humans. "We've been monitoring Earth transmissions," Ven explained as they embraced their long-lost friends. "When we realized the Empress had a human partner, we reached out. These brave souls volunteered to help our cause." Mira felt a surge of pride for her species. Even here, galaxies away from home, humans were standing up for what was right. The Resistance briefed them on the situation. Vex had consolidated his power, ruling with an iron fist. But his regime was built on fear and lies, and cracks were beginning to show. The return of the true Empress, along with her human partner, could be the catalyst needed to topple his rule. Their plan was daring. A direct assault on Vex's stronghold in the capital. While the resistance forces created a diversion, Mira and the Empress would confront Vex himself, using their combined powers to sever his connection to the corrupted flux and restore balance to Zephyria. As they prepared for battle, Mira took a moment to address the gathered forces. Humans and Zephyrians alike looked to her with hope in their eyes. "I know some of you still have doubts," Mira began, her voice carried by the flux so all could hear. "You wonder what a human could possibly offer in this fight, but look around you. See how we've come together, different species united for a common cause. This is our strength. This is what Vex fears." She raised her hand, letting the flux energy flow visibly around her. Humanity's gift isn't just our adaptability or our creativity. It's our ability to hope, to dream of a better future even in the darkest of times. Today, we bring that hope to Zephyria. Today, we show the universe what we can achieve when we stand together. A cheer went up from the assembled forces, the sound of it rippling through the flux itself. The battle that followed was like nothing Mira could have imagined when she first left Earth. Flux energy crackled through the skies of the Zephyrian capital as loyalist and resistance forces clashed. Mira and the Empress moved through the chaos like twin comets, their combined powers allowing them to cut a path straight to Vex's citadel. They found him in the throne room, his form bloated and distorted by the corrupted flux he had absorbed. So, he snarled as they entered, "The traitors return. Come to beg forgiveness." "We've come to end this, Vex," the Empress said, her voice heavy with sorrow for what her old friend had become. "Your human pet has made you weak," Vex spat. "I am the future of Zephyria." He lashed out with tendrils of dark energy. Mira and the Empress moved in perfect sync, their bond allowing them to anticipate and counter each of Vex's attacks. As they fought, Mira realized the true nature of their strength. It wasn't just about power, it was about balance. The Empress's ancient wisdom tempered Mira's human impetuousness. Mira's creativity and adaptability complemented the Empress's deep connection to the flux. Together, they were more than the sum of their parts. With a shared thought, they executed their final plan. While the Empress engaged Vex directly, Mira slipped into a meditative state, reaching out through the flux to the very core of Zephyria. She could feel the planet's pain, the way Vex's corruption had wounded it. Drawing on everything she had learned, on her human empathy and her newfound cosmic awareness, Mira began to heal the planet's flux. As she did, she felt other minds joining hers, the resistance fighters, the loyal Zephyrians, even the humans who had come so far to help. Their combined will flowed through her, a tidal wave of hope and determination. Vex screamed as he felt his power base slipping away. With a final, desperate lunge, he reached for Mira, hoping to corrupt her as he had the planet. But the Empress was there, interposing herself between them. There was a blinding flash as their energies collided. When Mira's vision cleared, Vex was gone, not dead, but transformed. Where he had stood was a small, pulsing seed of pure flux energy. "A second chance," the Empress said softly, cradling the seed. "A chance to start over, to learn and grow as you did, my love." As word of Vex's defeat spread, the fighting across the planet ceased. Zephyrians and humans alike looked to the sky as the dark clouds of corrupted flux dissipated, replaced by a warm, pulsing light that spoke of healing and renewal. In the days that followed, Mira and the Empress worked tirelessly to restore order and begin the process of healing their wounded world. But it wasn't just Zephyria that was changing. News of what had happened, of how humans and Zephyrians had worked together to overcome a great evil, spread across the galaxy. Delegates from other worlds began to arrive, curious about this unexpected alliance. Mira found herself at the center of a new kind of diplomatic course, using her art and her unique perspective to bridge gaps between species that had long thought themselves too different to connect. One evening, as Mira stood on the balcony of the restored palace, looking out over the glittering capital, the Empress joined her. "What are you thinking?" the Empress asked, entwining her energy with Mira's in a now familiar gesture of affection. Mira smiled, leaning into the embrace. "I'm thinking about that job posting I answered back on Earth. Unique opportunity for creative minds," it said. "I had no idea just how unique it would be." The Empress laughed, the sound like chiming crystals. "The flux works in mysterious ways. It brought us together for a reason." "So what comes next?" Mira asked, gesturing to the city below, to the ships from a dozen different worlds docked in the spaceport beyond. "That, my love," the Empress said, "is up to us to decide. We've opened the door to something new, a future where humans and Zephyrians and countless other species can learn from each other, grow together. It won't always be easy. But it'll be an adventure, Mira finished. As they stood there, looking out at the future they had fought so hard to secure, Mira felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found her place in the universe, not just as an artist, not just as a human, but as a bridge between worlds. The journey ahead was vast and uncertain, filled with challenges they couldn't yet imagine. But with the Empress by her side, with the strength of two worlds behind her, Mira knew that they were ready for whatever the cosmos might throw their way. The human spirit, it turned out, was exactly what the universe had been waiting for.